Hare Krishna, everyone. This is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology, and today I am looking at the 14th episode in my series on the Sri Isopanisad. So I started this a while ago, and then this summer was sort of sidetracked by moving, and I'm getting back to it now as I'm relocated here in the Minneapolis-St. Paul Twin Cities area of Minnesota. And I'm excited to get back to it. So I go ahead and put this presentation up on the screen now. Of course, you may have heard me say this before, but we are working through this text called the Sri Ishupanishad. You can get, actually, let me just turn off the screen and show it to you in case it's been a while. The Sri Ishupanishad, which you can pick up on Amazon, written by, or this is the purports and translations by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So we've been using this book to follow along with the different mantras of this series. So the Sri Ishupanishad is a part of the tradition of Vedic literature called the Upanishads. And these are the ancient philosophical commentaries and summaries of the Vedas. And the Sri Ishupanishad is called the Upanishad of the Lord. Isha means the Lord, and it was written in poetic verse, and it consists of 18 verses. So we are at mantra 13 today, and of 18 total mantras. I've got that right. I'm like, yeah, it's 18. Let's see here, make sure. Yeah, 18. So 17? No, it's 18. And there was an invocation mantra that we started with. So this is the 14th part of the series because we started with the invocation mantra, though we are now on the 13th mantra. So here is the 13th verse. I encourage you to read it along with me. It is said that one result is obtained by worshiping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another is obtained by worshiping what is not supreme. All this was heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. I'll read it one more time and invite you to read it with me again. It is said that one result is obtained by worshiping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another is obtained by worshiping what is not supreme. All this was heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. Here's the mantra on the screen. I apologize, I didn't have the mantra on the screen as I read it. Actually, let's read it one more time because I didn't mean to trip you up there and not have the mantra on the screen. It's a beautiful mantra, and one of my favorites of the Ishopanishad, and I'll explain why in a minute, but here we go. Let's read it together again. Sorry, that's my bad. It is said that one result is obtained by worshiping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another is obtained by worshiping what is not supreme. All this was heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. Beautiful verse. One of the reasons that I love this verse so much is that I think that it really spells out clearly one of the richest aspects of the Vedic tradition, which is the importance of hearing things from teachers who have passed it down from their teachers over time. And that's what the Vedas and Upanishads are in themselves. The Vedas are the words, brought into creation, spoken by God through Lord Brahma, and they kind of come into creation, and then they give us a sense of what reality is like and what God is all about and what the soul is and so many other things. And then the Upanishads reflect, summarize, and comment upon them. And then you have, the Vedanta Sutra, and then you have the Puranas and the Bhagavad Gita and so many other texts that continue to elaborate upon these original truths in succession. And that's really the essence of how we embody these teachings, is to hear about them from teachers and from the scriptures, from these sacred wisdom traditions, and pass it on. Now, here's a purport from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, his commentary on this verse. Nowhere in authentic scriptures is it said that whatever you do and whatever you worship, you will ultimately reach the same goal. Such foolish theories are offered by self-made masters who have no connection with the parampara, the Bonafide system of disciplic succession. The bona fide spiritual master cannot say that for everyone who has his own mode of worship, be it worship of the demigods or of the supreme, it leads to the same goal. For a common man, it is very easy to understand that a person starting by train from Bombay can reach the destination for which he has purchased his ticket and nowhere else. A person who has purchased a ticket for Calcutta can reach Calcutta. But contemporary so-called masters preach that whatever spiritual ticket you may purchase, it will take you to the supreme goal. Now, this is a really important purport, because what Srila Prabhupada is explaining here, and you have to remember he's coming during the 1960s, when there were a lot of people sort of delivering this message to people that, you just make up your own thing. Just do whatever you feel like. Just do whatever you want. Anything is true. Everything leads to the same place. You can imagine, I don't mean to be like, but you can imagine people like, twirling around in a field, tripping out on acid, just being like, it's all true. It's all good. You know what I mean? And what Prabhupada was trying to say was that, look, spiritual life is a serious business, and you need teachers. You need something that's been passed down, that's been tried and true over a long period of time, because not every single thing gets you there, and not single thing is good for you. And he was also responding, remember, to a drug culture at the time that kind of thought, drugs were as good as, a committed spiritual practice, which just, isn't the case. And I'm someone who's, believe me, because I had 10 years of drinking arguably one of the most powerful psychedelics on the planet, and had incredible spiritual experiences in those ayahuasca ceremonies, and also came to realize that, nothing compares to you still have to go home at the end of the day. You get the message, hang up the telephone, you still got to go and have a spiritual life, a spiritual practice every single day. There's no shortcut. And that doesn't mean that, spiritual life is some kind of trudging uphill both ways. I walked uphill both ways to school, in the snow, in, all of that kind of hard austerity type of thing. That's not what he's saying. But what he is saying is that, look, you can't just make this up, because there are time-tested paths in wisdom, and that it's very possible that you'll obtain a very different result depending on what you do. So you have to be careful. And the Ishupanishad is telling us this as well. Remember, here's the mantra again. It is said that one result is obtained by worshiping the supreme cause of all causes. Another is obtained by worshiping that which is not supreme. All this was heard from the undisturbed authorities, who clearly explained it. So in Bhakti, there's one God. God has many forms. So sometimes we make the mistake, because God has many forms, of being like, well, anything will do, anything is fine. And that's not exactly anyway, that's not what Bhakti teaches us. In Bhakti Yoga, although God has innumerable names and forms, worship of the primeval and original source of all things is in a personal relationship between the soul and God, soul and source, soul and Krishna, is the only means to progress spiritually. That's the core sentiment of the Vedic tradition, which is that, look, you're a spirit soul, and you need to find an aligned, beautiful, heartfelt connection with your source, with which you need to align yourself with through prayer, through worship, through surrender, through devotion, through spiritual community, through reading of spiritual texts, through chanting of mantras, through song and dance, and so many things. But if we aren't cultivating that with our source very clearly, for the sake of developing no agenda other than to be in loving communion with our source, then in Bhakti, we are worshiping something else for a different reason, for a different agenda, and it's not going to have the same result. So Bhakti says, yeah, there are innumerable names and forms of God, but still, if it's not about loving service, communion, unity, closeness, and intimacy with God, if the goal is something else, then you're going to get a different result. The primary symptom of Bhakti is that we're interested in cultivating a mood of devotion, service, affection, and deepening heart attachment to God. If we aren't cultivating these things and only looking for the attainment of our personal ambitions or wishes or hopes or aspirations, then it's very possible that we're not actually worshiping God and cultivating Bhakti. So that's kind of the message of this verse, and that's how I would offer my own thoughts on it. Not, obviously, Srila Prabhupada's purport, I think, says it all, and there's nothing really more to add. But those are some of my own thoughts, I guess, after reflecting on this verse before making this talk. The Bhagavad Gita has 2 verses that accompany this particular mantra really nicely, I think. One comes from the 17th chapter. It says, penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. So in other words, if we are worshiping something or following some path, And our intentions behind it, sometimes very subtly or even unconsciously, are to gain respect, honor, reverence, to get something out of it for ourselves, that's in the mode of passion, and the results will be neither stable nor permanent. Another verse in the 18th chapter, the concluding verse in some ways of the Gita, is abandon. Krishna's talking to Arjuna. He says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Meaning, look, I've got you covered. Anything you want or need, anything you could possibly hope for that would possibly benefit you, I will give to you very naturally if you surrender unto me and move into communion with me in love. When you do that, I've got you. You're not going to need anything else. Don't go looking for anything else. Don't go worshiping anything else to get some kind of result that you think you need because you're afraid or because you think you need something you don't have. To him, Krishna's saying, like, that's sort of all of the cheap, fake, phony religions that lead to a totally different result. Just abandon all of that crap, It's kind of the message, and say, like, hey, put your heart in my hands, and I'll reciprocate with you, and everything else will be taken care of. But the message very clearly is the alternative to that. If we don't listen to that, we get a different result. It doesn't all lead to the same place. That doesn't mean that we go to hell or that some terrible thing awaits us. It just means that in bhakti, again, if the central goal is love of God, and if we're doing that, then there are a number of different ways in which we can approach God, and God will reciprocate. And there is variety there. But it's not the same as saying, yeah, worship anything and everything for any reason whatsoever, make it up as you go along, and it'll all lead to the same thing. If the central goal and purpose isn't there, we obtain a different result. And that is maybe the essence of bhakti that keeps us really anchored and clear as to why we're doing what we're doing every day when we chant or when we pray or share time with other yogis and so forth. Anyway, I hope this was interesting. I hope you guys appreciate the series. We'll try to keep moving along at a better clip now. I'll try to finish this series up as we have what have we got? Yes, about 5 mantras left. So hopefully we will progress and finish this up rather quickly. I hope you're all doing well. Hare Krishna.